Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for allowing me to hold this seat in this beautiful space. Really stunning. I snuck back upstairs and took pictures because it's really quite beautiful. And I have a colleague and friend that just stepped down from leading the New York Shambhala Center and wanted to send her a picture of the shrine. Scholar might be a stretch. But we'll see what we can do to say something. So I thought maybe it would be good, and I might try to refer to notes, but I'm really terrible. People keep telling me that I should do them, and so I'm sort of trying them, and they always just completely forget them. Maybe somewhere along the line, someone will say, check your notes, and will give me a hand. So I'll just start out with, because it will stop a lot of the questions that people usually end up asking me, which is a little bit about how I came to practice and what my kind of early life was like. And I think it'll be relevant, particularly relevant to this talk. So I'm a stone-cold New Yorker, like really in the thick of New York City, and not, forgive me, anybody that lives in the outer boroughs. I wasn't one of the outer borough New Yorkers. We called them bridge and tunnel. I was like thick in the city. So I grew up in Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, and kind of a downtown snob, really, too. Like above, those of you who know New York, above 14th Street, I would say get a nosebleed. So like I'm a New Yorker. And then I was hip, too. And I was, very much living a life of a hip, mixed race, queer woman of color in New York. Parties that ended at 4, and then you went out to the next party. It was the first time I got in a whole lot of trouble. I came home, 7 a.m. and my father was waiting for me. And doing all that, and as happens to many of us, I ran into a wall, right? A wall of that was made up of my own places of confusion, where the world stopped making sense to me. My grandfather passed away, and he and I were very close, and I just couldn't make sense of anything. And grief does that to you. It just upends all of your sense making, and everything that you knew about the world just comes completely undone if you allow it to happen. And so simultaneously, I ran into a book called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind in Tower Bookstore. And it just started to help me to put some pieces together. The ways in which I didn't fit in my life. Right? This little Japanese man from, that had been all the way across the country, knew something about my life. And knew something about how to help me make sense of my life. And that was striking. And so I began to read, and I made a practice space in a closet, because that's where you did things that no one should know about. I was out as queer, but I had to keep the meditation thing in the closet. And, I would say, closets are for clothes, and my friends would say, what about that meditation thing you do? But I then ended up going to the West Coast and on a trip, and had the opportunity to visit San Francisco Zen Center, and I got my first meditation cushion, and I got it out of the closet. And I eventually found my way, after stalking Bernie for a while, going up to Yonkers. I found my way to the what was called the Village Zendo. It's still called the Village Zendo. And there I was. Now I was, not only hip and cool. I also had actually the first black-owned, first woman-owned cyber cafe. That's what we called them back then. And I was really sort of living, in some ways, someone's idea of a dream, right? I had my own business, or it had me. I was very cool, and there's all this like spoken word going on, and all the groovy people would come in our place and hang out, and Erykah Badu would be drinking coffee there, and Mums the Schemer would roll through and, drop some words and poetry, and it was just all good. I mean, jazz artists that were well known would like sneak off their contract and come and perform in our place. It was cool like that. And I was doing this Zen thing, and in our coffee bar, we had this party once, and it was a New Year's Eve party. And it was one of those parties that was like the legendary party. It was so legendary that people talked about it all year. And they kept saying, "Are you going to have the party again? You're going to have the party?" I said, "Well, of course we're going to have the party." The following year came, and we were all ready to have this party. And I was at a crossroads, because my Zen community was having a sesshin, a silent retreat. And I was suddenly faced with being hip and cool and all in the know and part of the black digerati with the cool kids. Everything I knew about myself, everything I knew about who I was, it was who I had constructed myself to be. And I was either going to go to and have that party and be that person that I had so carefully constructed, or I was going to go to a cold-ass house, excuse my French, in the snow, that had no heat, and walk around, basically in circles, where you hardly saw anything but a bunch of white folks' feet. That sounds, anybody knows this session? That's about sounds like it, right? Easy choice, right? And so I remember someone was on the phone, and they were saying, well, asking me something about when I was there, and they had already placed me at the party. And I thought, oh, this image of myself was fading, and I couldn't see myself at the party. Because through my practice, right, the idea of myself was starting to come apart. So I went and walked around in circles with white folks. And I missed the party. Oh. And I did that because in that moment, and this person's voice kind of faded to the background, and I barely remember what they were talking about. What I knew is that on the one hand, there was this party, and I could go to the party, and I could get all the benefits of the party, right? And be the center of attention and have all of this attention given to me and everybody looking at me thinking how cool I was for throwing this great party. Or I could go and attend to my heart. And strange as they were, I could be with who I loved. So that was my moment of giving up something in order to save what I loved. And I think that Buddhism is at a crossroads in that kind of way. It has to look really deeply at itself without any we can't fix the past, right? And so there's no real point of looking back and going, oh, we should have done this or we should have done that. But we're in a moment. Mindfulness is on the rise. We barely have meditation anymore. We have mindfulness. I'm still trying to catch up to it. There's technology in mindfulness, and there's mindfulness in schools, and there is mindfulness and end-of-life care, and there's just mindfulness everywhere. And we all, know that it's code word for, the part of the Dharma that people can take for now, and that's okay because that's how it works, right? We take what we can and we meet the situation as we can in the way that we are in that moment. So there's a kind of lens on Buddhism. It's a little small right now while people largely focus on mindfulness, but it will get bigger. People will come and they'll investigate and they'll wonder, like, what is this about? And we'll have to have an answer. We'll have to have an answer. So we sit at this crossroads, and the opportunity is that one road, right, when they come and they say, what are you about? One road we can go down, we can say, we are about, the Dharma is about Buddhism, the modern presentation of Buddhism, how we find it in this country, in this culture, in this place, at this time, right? We can't judge other places and other times because things have to fit the conditions. But in these conditions, we can either go down the road of expressing the full and complete Dharma that has a place for everyone. That has a place for everyone. The radical Dharma, as in thorough, full and complete. We can live up to its full promise. It's all right there. I'm not making something up. We don't even have to go and find something else to add on. Or we can go down the road of irrelevance. And we can be just another preoccupation. A kind of entertainment, a bit of amusement, someplace for people that have too much to do and too much to spend to put their attention and time. Embodying not the true heart and essence of the Dharma, but rather peddling it as yet another expression of the fundamental illness and illnesses of this country. That illness being we're masters at forms of oppression in the midst of actually having diversity to work with. Right? So we're not like other countries in which actually they're so dominated by particular groups or genders, etc., worldviews, that they don't have the opportunity to come into contact with true difference. We have the opportunity, and we have the opportunity to welcome that difference. Not even because we want to, but because we're committed to the Dharma. You don't have to want to. I don't really care whether you want to or not. But if you want to say that you're committed to the Dharma, if you want to say that you're committed to liberation, well, it means you have to let everyone in. Because at this time, we don't have the luxury of liberation for the sake of liberation. Maybe we did at some point, I don't know. At this time, liberation for the sake of all beings is the only liberation that is worthy of who we are. Not liberation for those of us, the people that are in our clubs. Not liberation for the people that look like us, talk like us, wear the same outfits, hold their bodies like us, express their emotions like us. Not liberation for the people that make us comfortable and feel at ease. Not liberation for the sake of people that do not upset our view, even of Buddhism itself. Liberation for all beings. En punto. For all beings. I want to complicate liberation for all beings. Actually roll that back and say liberation with all beings. And complicate it further and say liberation as all beings. Because we're not separate. We are not separate. I mentioned part of a phrase earlier, and someone came up to me and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad that you said that." And she related to the Ubuntu phrase that essentially means, because you are, I am. And I said, oh, well, this is the phrase that is most repeated in Buddhist texts. Most often repeated. If you believe these are the words of the Buddha, most often repeated by the Buddha. He tried to basically drum it in people's head. When this arises, that arises. Because this is, that is. The first one comes first. So I'll repeat it. This being, that becomes. I like that translation better. When this arises, that arises. This not being, that does not become. when this ceases, that ceases. The this and that is you and I. We arise and we fall together. And the delusion of a construct of privilege has hidden that from our view. And it has, caused an illness within our communities that we should all feel. We should all feel angry about, actually. We should feel fiercely upset that this extraordinary Dharma is being corrupted. To become a vehicle for a system and a construct that has done so much harm to so many people, not the least of which is ourselves. One of the, a real pivotal moment, many of you may remember this, there was an article that was in Tricycle magazine many years ago about Bhimrao Ambedkar, and it talked about how Buddhism had essentially died for all intents and purposes in India. And Ambedkar he wrote the Constitution. He was contemporary with Gandhi. But he was born untouchable. And through a series of events and convergences, he happened to be positioned in which people recognized his brilliance. And he wasn't easy for Gandhi. He was Malcolm to Gandhi's Martin. He agitated for including untouchables, in the Constitution in a way that they would have equal rights. But Gandhi was really attached, let us say, to having this Constitution accepted, and so he felt certain that the Brahmin caste wouldn't accept that. And he said, just wait, wait. And many people know that and never ended up actually happening. And so, actually, in the story, Dr. Chris Queen wrote the story, and I got to meet him years later, which is such a pleasure. But in the story, as he told it, Gandhi actually threatened. Ambedkar was pushing this so hard, and saying, that this had to be in the Constitution, that Gandhi actually threatened to go on a hunger strike, and he was already weak. When you hear that. So Gandhi threatened to go on a hunger strike. And then everyone went to Ambedkar and said, you can't keep pushing for this, because Gandhiji is will be sick and he'll die. And then what will we have? And so Ambedkar acquiesced and said, okay. But if we can't be Hindu, and be human will be something else. Right? He realized that the problem was that they had just accepted being Hindu. And in accepting being Hindu, they accepted untouchability as a concept at all. And so he studied, as I said, he was brilliant, right? And so he didn't even have Google. So he studied actually all kinds of religions, both rooted in India and outside of India as well. And he came to the conclusion that Buddhism was perfect with regard to being able to accept all people equally in its text, in its teachings. He wasn't foolish or naive. He knew that there had been a history of expressions of Buddhism that were corrupted by human failing. But the texts themselves, the teachings themselves, he was a real scholar, not like me. I'm a Google scholar. The teachings themselves, and he studied them extensively. This is the answer. And so he went on to lead a mass conversion of people from untouchability, from being out in the cold, from being marginalized, from being born into a place in which one accepts one's place as less than. And he essentially rebirthed them into full human beings. And he did it with this precious teaching that we have. So how dare us manifest it in any other way than that full, complete, open-hearted teaching that insists upon liberation for all. What is it that we have fallen in love with in the idea of Buddhism that is keeping us from allowing it to be fully expressed? What is it that we have to give up in our identity, in our sense of privilege, in who owns what, who gets to interpret what, who gets to voice, who has a voice? In order to save this stunningly beautiful, complete teaching that we're here because we love. We even love permutations of it, even if we're not Buddhists. How could we not? The reason we're here is because it says, it rings out, I have a place for you. There is a place for you here. And all of us in our awkwardness and our confusion and our sense of ill-belonging come to find a home here. How could we cast anyone out into the cold of untouchability? Of course, we're not doing it by law. Right? So that's why we really have to do the work of really looking into what is it that we're doing? How is it that we're showing up? What is it that we feel like we own? That is hindering this full expression. I imagine that if you look deep enough, you'll discover that it means that you are hindering something in your own being. So because we don't hold on to stuff when we feel free in ourselves. It's just a natural law. If we're not fixated on a self, we don't have one to defend. In these times, in these conditions, a Buddhism that is not engaged is a Buddhism that has failed. So not only do we have to do the work within our communities, we actually have to reach out and extend ourselves beyond our comfortable little seats of practice. And practice where it matters. Which is out in the world. Because that's where all beings are. If we wait for them all to come into our little centers, there's a lot of seats in here, but we don't have enough room. And I know people always say that Buddhists don't proselytize. But we advertise. That's the modern version. And we do it really well, actually. And we have to unhook ourselves from this kind of obsession with the coolness of Buddhism. You know, in the same way that I had to unhook myself from the coolness of me in order to receive the Dharma, in order to actually step into it, I had to unhook myself from my own coolness. Right? I had to unhook myself from my blackness, from my femaleness, from my queerness, right? Because they were getting in the way of me actually being able to drop into my practice. That's not PC to say. Yeah, colored folks have to drop that too. But not until, right, we're able to root in our own being. So as I was able to find roots in my own being, then I could begin to let go of the identities. And anyone asking us to put our identities aside because it's disrupting our comfortable little seats, our comfortable little communities, should be turned away back to examine what it is that they have to work with. We don't defend from the seat of freedom. Because freedom sees possibilities. We see possibilities. We don't see someone that's going to come to disrupt. We see someone that's going to come and help us to learn. We don't see someone that's going to fit in. We see someone that's going to help us to grow, to reach out. And when we get them, in, we don't try to make them fit in the center. The center reaches out to the margins. The center, which is what it's afraid of, right? It's that it's going to be changed by the presence of real difference, by the acceptance of real difference, and it should be. It should be indeed. That's how we stay alive. So here's what I know. I know that the communities and the people that are upholding a static view of the Dharma, they are suffering. They may not be entirely hip to it yet, but they're suffering. And often, when we are experiencing the impact of other people suffering, it's difficult for us to actually be in relationship to that person suffering. But I want to invite those of us that find ourselves in that experience, in whatever way you find yourself in that experience. Someone said to me today that there was a talk that I gave, and there was a white man that felt himself parts of himself made invisible, because all people see is him being a white man, and they don't see other aspects of himself. They don't see his Native American heritage, and they don't see his other parts that I won't say, lest it become more identification, because he didn't say it to me. But people couldn't see him because that's all they could see. And so he's rendered invisible. And it's easy when you're in a place in which the construct, right, the ideas that we have around how white male heterosexuality has been such a difficult positionality to work with in this country, especially when it tips off the edge of rightness or whiteness or both. It's easy to not see that they're suffering. But have you ever been in a situation like in public and someone's mentally ill? And it's clear that they're mentally ill because of the way in which they're relating. They're kind of like, you don't exist. They're in a conversation with themselves. They seem to be affirming their own world view that's happening seemingly all by themselves. And they might actually be, violent, kind of swinging around and hitting things, causing a lot of calamity and destruction as they go. Right? And we get that, we see it, and we say, oh, get out of the way. And maybe, we might even say, they might need some help. Because they're suffering. These constructs that keep us from divided from one another, that keep us separate from one another, that keep us from loving one another, from seeing one another, it's an illness. It should be seen as such. And the people that are carrying that illness, we can get out of the way of the flailing, but we have to remember that they're trapped in an illness. And they do deserve our compassion. and they deserve to be seen. And in seeing them, if you've ever been in that type of experience, if whether it's a person that's mentally ill or someone that's homeless and maybe they smell really bad, or maybe they're an immigrant, looks really different from you. Maybe there's someone that makes you feel a little scared inside. Big black dude. Taking up a lot of space, big voice, bellowing, kind of rich tones that black voices have that kind of weird white folks out. We know it's true. Thank goodness for James Earl Jones. Made it better for all of us. But if you manage to take a moment to observe the situation, what you would recognize is in your effort to not relate to them, you are actually the first one that disappears. You have to disappear yourself. You've had that experience, right? Where you get smaller in the room and you just, well, I just get really small. I can make them not exist. And conversely, in seeing them, we are seen. Not by them. That's not the point. In the act of seeing them, we see ourselves. In choosing to see people that are suffering or that we deem other, we begin to see ourselves. So we don't do it for the sake, we do it as others. Because we want to be seen. And everything you're holding on to, everything that you're defending is about the ways in which you don't feel seen. It's kind of difficult to figure out how to get seen. And so we kind of do this reverse process where what you do instead is you give up the things that you're trying to defend. Right? You go the other way. You go through the back door. Like, oh, right? I love this thing. I remember I was so into my Dharma practice, and I had the opportunity, she became a friend for a little while, to meet Michelle Ndegeocello. And she's a musician, for those of you that may not know, really quite brilliant. And she was going through a hard time. And I had this mala that I loved. And all my little Buddhist identity was right there, just like this one, in that mala. And one day, Michelle Bashir is actually her preferred name. Bashir just admired the mala. It wasn't at all grasping in any kind of way. She just said, she was like, oh, that's really lovely. And she, I think her eyes rested on it for a moment, because that's what caught my attention. She was like, oh, that's really lovely. And you know how people say lovely or something, and like they release their breath. It's a moment of... Oh. And I took it off and I gave it to her. I gave it to her not because I felt like, oh, you're having a hard time. And so since you admired my mala, I want to give it to you. That would be great, right? That would be a wonderful story. And I would come out smelling like a rose. I gave it to her because when she looked at my mala, I felt contraction. And a flurry of crazy thoughts went through my head about how much money she had, and she could get any mala she wanted. She could get 20 malas. And was that just kind of janky that she was looking? And I'm sure she expects me to give it to her. Like some crazy person showed up in my head and in my body. I thought, damn, that is not who I want to be. That is not what I want to be defending. And so I'm going to give it up. I didn't do it for her. I did it for me. Because I want to save my heart from that crazy person that got in my head. That by that time I had a couple of years of practice under my belt, so I was really like, whoa. And similarly, I went to a Tibet Society had an event, and I went to the event, and I met this tall, skinny guy. He looked like Max Headroom. Those of you know things back in the 80s. It's like a computer figure. And he was so friendly, and he came to me, and he was like, oh, I teach in prisons. Would you like to teach meditation in prison? And I thought, hell no. So I did. That tall, skinny guy is Soren Gordhamer, who founded Wisdom 2.0. We taught in prison together. And he was, going on about how it helped the youth and how great it was for them, and blah, 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 blah. And his words were just like, Charlie Brown, like, wah, 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 wah. And I was like, oh, this tall, skinny white guy, yeah, that's why you're going in, and you can go in like that. When you go in, you're going in to help the youth. When I go in, I am confronting my brother, my cousin, someone that could have been me, because I remember when I stole that pair of sneakers from Modell's and got caught, but there was some confusion about who got called. That was supposed to be my mother, and it was the wrong person, and I was narcoleptic and fell asleep, and they got worried and let me go. This is now officially on camera. I think the statute of limitations is up, though. Everything that I have done that is of value has been because I have given something up. Everything that I have discovered that I truly love is because I gave up something that I was enamored with, that I had attached my identity, that I had attached my sense of comfort to. I don't like to be exceptionalist about Buddhism. I truly believe that and know that there are many different cultures, particularly cultural indigenous teachings, that have a shared understanding of our interconnectedness. Not just as, I don't mean interconnectedness as people, I mean interconnectedness as things, as all dharmas, as that which exists. And we have a planet that is in crisis from our lack of understanding and living into our connectedness. We have countries that are at war and children that don't eat. And black men and black girls being shot in their beds. And we feel helpless, but we're not. We have this teaching to stand in, to root in, but we must express it. We must manifest the full, complete Dharma without holding on to other people needing to buy Buddhism. That's just another club. People often ask me, well, what do we call you? And anything respectful. And it took me a while, but I say, Reverend Angel, especially in, communities that are outside. So Zen people will call me, Kyodo Sensei or something. But outside, Reverend travels well because people get it. And it reminds me, and people say it back to me, right, of the place that I'm standing. And that even with the titles and the yada yada, that I don't have to be Buddhist in order to manifest the Dharma. That in fact, if I go someplace without my trusty bib on, and people are like, oh, you're a Buddhist, then I have not done my work. You know what I'm saying? If you're peppering the conversation with little Buddhist phrases, you start sort of saying the word compassion too many times. Get beyond Buddhism. Dr. King would talk about the love that does justice. The love that does justice. There's a small collection of essays put forth by Michael Edward, and it's called The Love That Does Justice, and it's an array of different people speaking to the topic. And when he asked me to contribute to it years ago, I got to thinking about it. And I thought, oh, Buddhism kind of goes one better than King. See, because without a fixed idea of a self, of a doer, there's no one to do justice. There's just love is justice. Love is justice. Someone said to me earlier, what do I say to people that feel like the idea of social justice is, something they don't want to deal with? They object to the idea of social justice. They object to love. Justice is love expressed in society, between people, right here. Justice is love beyond the privacy of your own body. So the moment that you are acting outside of just your own little thoughts, the love that you have, the love that you say you believe in, the love that you invest in, the love that you work on, expresses itself as justice. And it's how you know when you see injustice, when you see yourself participate in injustice, it's how you know you're not loving yourself. When you don't interrupt injustice, it's how you know you're not loving yourself. See, because your love can't exist in a bubble. Just in here. You actually don't even know that it's love until you get it out there. And that's hard work. I know. I'm going to tell you a really funny story. It goes back to my Virgo. This is one of those moments where I'm like, can we turn off the cameras, please? Okay, so you ready? We're close friends here, right? Okay. So I was in my bathroom and a few weeks ago, and I was obsessively arranging tampons in a box. Do all the men know what tampons are? Okay, if you don't, you're gonna have to ask someone else. I'm not gonna say that. You just have to go with me. And what happened was I got some new ones, and there were some previous ones, and they were different, strengths, which had different colors, like on the little labels. And they were slightly different heights. So I was trying to arrange them. I just thought, if you're not going to be orderly, you're going to have to get out. I'm thinking about this with tampons. And I was so tickled. Because I was really, looking at them in this way. And here's the thing, after 7 years of living as a full-time Dharma teacher, here's the one thing that I have figured out. People are not orderly. And I just couldn't be throwing them out all the time. So as a Virgo moon, I am designed for Zen. OCD, turn that around. Even still, it's bothering me over there. Of course, that's a generalization, but you know what I mean. And there's nothing like a well set up room where all the zafus and zabutons are carefully lined up. It makes my heart soften. I can get cushions orderly, but I cannot get people orderly. So even though this feels so like who I am, it feels like who I am. It's not my fault. It's the stars. Just that moment, just that time, popped out the womb, and there it was, Virgo, moon. So we get this sense of like, yeah, but this is who I am. I love order. I love it. But I had to love people more then I loved order. You see, I had to go outside myself and go even beyond who I knew myself to be, right? In order to express the Dharma. And I lived in a constant state of irritation for a good while, until I figured out that a Buddhism that does not irritate does not liberate. That without fail, I learned something from every single person. And I don't say that in the sort of like, I really learned something from every single person. I learned something from every single person that made me a better and more complete me. And I said to Deborah Bowman earlier that to Dale earlier that I lived as a full-time Dharma teacher for 7 years. And the way you work with that is that for each person that you live closely with, not if it's a big spread up, if you live closely with people, that you get a year under your belt as a Dharma teacher. So 7 people, 7 years, it means I have 49 years of teaching. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of giving up. And I'm better for it. And we will be better for it. We will be better for it. If we want to save what we love, we have to look at what there is to be given up that is hindering that love, that is hindering our openness, that is hindering our reaching across the table, across the aisle, across the class line. That is hindering our ability to see people as who they are expressing themselves as who we have fixed in our mind as about who they should be, because we know what gender is, and they're not showing up in the way that we want their gender to show up. And that if you're a Buddhist, you've got to sit like this and walk like this and talk like this and express like this. And if you're not quiet and you don't know what you're doing, this is about being free. It's about being free. It is about letting people be free. And when you're free, you know that. And if you find yourself not wanting someone to be free, go work on yourself. Don't figure out how you can fix them, contain them, control them. Figure out what it is that you're holding on to. Let's put our energy and effort into expressing the full and complete Dharma that is, at this moment in time, such an offering to the world, to help us understand the desperately needed truth of our interconnectedness, our interbeing, our oneness. And that oneness expresses itself in a myriad ways, the 10,000 things. And we should love and liberate each and every one of them. Thank you. I love pregnant pauses.
We do everything, and then I'm going to wash the dishes. But
Yes, sure.
okay, great.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions, please, since we're recording, it would be great if you would come up here. We'd appreciate that. Excuse me? Oh, okay. That would be fine too. So we have a wireless microphone, so you can raise your hand.
Thank you for your talk. Is this on? Yeah, okay. I'm curious, given that you are in a Zen lineage, and given everything you said, what you do about the form, or teaching the form, or not teaching the form, how you hold that as a teacher.
I do. I tried to go to, just out of curiosity. Sort of started with, I moved to California. We started with just sitting, literally. It was just cushions, and actually they're, more like pillows from the couch, but, good enough. And lo and behold, people felt like it wasn't enough. So we had a little walking, and it wasn't enough. And so we had a little bowing. It wasn't quite enough. People, in my experience, many people, not everyone, but many people hunger for form in a world that's so chaotic. That form is containment. It gives us a clear place and way to direct our energy. But I wasn't obsessed with saying Chinese names that I couldn't say and hearkening back to some kind of history that people were never going to feel touched by. So, yes, form. And liberation from form, too. And so when the form is not serving, off it went. That doesn't mean we didn't have a regular structure, but there are certainly circumstances in which you have to do one of those council conversations where there's no crosstalk. And they're beautiful. They're amazing things can happen. But sometimes they just don't work. You need to set it aside and get down to it. And they actually are hindering conversations, and people will use this beautiful form that allows for such magic to arise and to show up in the room, and they'll use it to choke the life out of people's voice. And so I go back to, when you are feeling into liberation, that you don't feel so fixed, and then the forms are not something that hinder, they're something that help, and you hold them that way. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry, please say your name. Jennifer.
I don't think I'll need the mic. I don't like microphones, but I'll take it. My name's Kevin. Thank you.
Hi, Kevin.
Your conversation has been really humbling and helpful. So my question is, I identify as a genderqueer person of color, and I've seen many situations that have made me turn inward because I identify with this identity, and I've grown up in places that are marginalized. But with turning inward, hasn't mean that I haven't been keen to the systemic oppression that occurs in these marginalized neighborhoods. So I'm angry, yet that I know that this identification comes with a spectrum that I have to break. And so when I think of that, I think of this path that is trying to harmonize chaos and peace. Mm. So how do we consistently navigate that space as people of color when we feel that practice sometimes may not be enough?
I don't think that practice is not enough. I think what happens is we limit our ideas of what practice is. Right? So we get very fixed ideas, and I don't think I'm doing anything but practice. I don't think I've been doing anything but practice all my Dharma life, including when I confronted my teacher, including when I stepped out of my community, including when I stepped back in again, including when I refused titles and then when I accepted them. When I challenged whole, institutions, it was practice. It was practice. I wasn't flying off the handle. I was expressing my authentic being, and I was rooting myself into the ground of my practice. I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you if it wasn't for my practice. And it's a little strange that I'm here in front of you. You gotta admit, a little strange. I didn't exactly abide by the rules all the time. But I was deeply committed to my practice. And I showed up, and I saw what was out of alignment, and I still showed up. And I rooted myself in my love, so that my speaking to it was rooted in the love that I had, not just for respecting myself in that situation, but also for the love that I had for the people that I was practicing with. That I expected something greater of them out of love.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you. My name is Akili, and I'm curious about what's on the notes.
Well, now, I did pretty good. I think it's what I said. Practice that doesn't irritate, doesn't liberate. This actually has a little null sign. They were coming to get me. Well, that's actually pretty good. I don't think I missed a point. And if I had, I would, hold you responsible for not interrupting and saying, check your notes. Thank you for asking.
Hi. I just wanted to find out
you have
about.
A name?
Oh yeah, my name's Saba.
Saba.
I wanted to ask about mindfulness. You mentioned it, and I think it's a wonderful, American manifestation of Buddhism. Mm-hmm. I guess, and other traditions that can relate to, I guess, being present, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think it's a great complement to Buddhism. I'd just like you to kind of give your insight. Well, you have, but I guess kind of relate it a little more, kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, whatever gets you in the door. I'm not so much concerned about the people that are attracted to mindfulness. I'm concerned about the people that hang out their shingle selling mindfulness when they themselves have not deepened in their own practice. And then there'll be confusion, particularly when you strip a technique away from its ethical core. So if we are smart and strategic, then we will quickly, with haste, paste some ethical core in the caboose of mindfulness so that as the train leaves the station, that ethics don't get left behind. And so that's the concern. Because this stability of mind is neutral. It is not inherently given over to express positive things without an ethical foundation, without an ethical framework. Do you know Hitler was a meditator? Yes. Yes, wow. Stability of mind can express itself in many different directions. And so people can clearly, with exquisite precision, rape and plumage countries, hiding behind corporations. They can execute things with detachment, in which they are not caught up in the feeling of what it means to exhibit that kind of behavior as a human being.
Hi.
You again?
Hi, yeah. I'm sorry. I feel bad, but again, here I am. So my name is Reina, and during talk you mentioned about white male, and they are also suffering too, and I totally understand. But when I hear that, I get pissed off. Because
You should be pissed off that anyone is suffering.
Okay. From my experience, when I stand up for people of color and to white male or any, I guess in general white people, they claim that they're also suffering, and then they supposedly Buddhist, and they throw we all are suffering, totally normalizing our pain. Mm-hmm. And definitely there is a different degree of suffering, and that's institutional too. Especially Black people are their life is threatened, always in danger. Mm-hmm. But even they claim, white people claim to be Buddhist, they don't want to acknowledge that. I don't know, I feel like they caught up their ego so much, and then they can't even admit that they're privileged, and that make me pissed off. But even if I express that, really they can't take it. And so yesterday you talked about allowing too, and also I allowing them to grow, and then it's okay not to understand. But still, I feel the sense of urgency because people are dying. Mm-hmm. So how, I don't know, I want to know the way to, so you say urging and then the allowing. Mm-hmm. But I think in the US, urging part is very huge right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suffering is a experience that we are prone to and confusion. But when it's picked up and it's used as a shield to actually keep our solidity in place, then you have to pull out the sword and cut right through that shield. And so people that are anything on it, truly can be used to be manipulated, right? So we can use suffering, the idea of suffering, as people do. Well, we're all suffering. I know that one. But your own discernment of understanding when people are using it to blow smoke up your tail is really useful. Then I would close down the entrance. Don't let them do it. Stop it in its tracks. Right? That's when you actually have a responsibility to use your own being to both receive and acknowledge in your heart the truth of their deep suffering, not the thing that they're shielding with and throwing at you and trying to actually cut you with, right? Cut you down with. Like Captain America, he's got that shield and he just slices through things. That's how a lot of Dharma people use suffering. It's a shield and it kind of cuts people down. So you can acknowledge that behind that shield there's a human being that is suffering and they're caught up in that illness. And use everything available to you to urgently push back against that, to call it out, to name it. And I know that that burdens us. And so when I say that, I ask that the people that are constantly under strain and stress not extend themselves beyond their capacity. There are times to build your capacity when you're under the constant stress that racism induces, right? That classism induces, that patriarchy induces. There's a constant stress. And I'm sure to people that are not in touch with that, it could sound like just complaining, right? Like, oh, we're all under stress. And it's a different kind of stress. It has a different degree of impact. Most of the stress and suffering that many privileged folks are experiencing is self-maintained. And that's one of the significant differences. So if you just go off and you keep on maintaining your own stress and suffering and kind of leave me alone, like stop actually advancing and maintaining my suffering, then we can start having a conversation. But until your suffering stops resulting in my unnecessary suffering, I've got a problem with you. I'm going to challenge you. Someone has to tell me that I'm not the most rude person that's ever sat in this seat. Just, the little check, no? Not even, okay, thanks, okay. Oh, you just opened the door, Jack. Raina, I think you should just come and stay with me for the rest of the time I'm here.
You're not rude. And thank you for your talk. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
My question is, I was wondering if you could expand and kind of define what it means to be grounded in your being. Because you said that in order to like let go of aspects of ourselves, we have to be grounded in our being. So that just really stood out to me. I really wanted to clearly understand what you meant by that.
We have to begin, right? So one of our challenges is that we always want it to like be perfect. We want to have it together, and we live in a society that's so much about like having it together. And so really, you have to begin to ground in your own being, right? And that means to like feel yourself in yourself. To feel yourself in yourself. Don't most of us feel like we're just sort of like these weird projections? Like we're out there somewhere and things are going on and like this, this avatar angel is doing things that I just wish she would stop. And I can't get her to reel it in. And because like as the things are happening, you don't feel yourself. You literally don't feel yourself. Think about it, when the worst moments when you committed the most crazy acts in your life, it was just like you were hovering somewhere, watching it happen, and you were just, it had no ability to control it. Like you're disembodied. And for me, embodiment practices, meditation was a really good start, but I got to the not like, ooh, more, this lifetime. And so I began practices that were embodied practice, meaning they enabled me to feel myself. Right, literally, like I could feel myself. Not just sensation, feel myself. I don't mean just sensation. It starts by feeling sensation, right? Like a noticing sensation when you feel yourself like disembodied, like your little helium balloon like starting to leave, little head disappearing away from the rest of your body. And so you begin to feel sensation and the helium balloon kind of comes back down. But most of us don't inhabit our full bodies and our full beings. We're kind of contained in all of the compression of society and the compression of speed and the compression of getting it right and the compression of knowing everything and the compression of the idea of who we are. And if we kind of quit the idea of who we are and just be who we are, we'd go much further, much faster. Just quit it, like break up. And send those like little breakup notes. Dear idea of angel, I'm done. I'm just going to risk it. And I'm going to be who I am. And it's going to come out all wrong. And that's perfect. That's perfect.
Hi, thank you. My name is Yvette. I think I understand why you had to unhook yourself from your coolness and your hipness. Can you help me understand why you felt you had to unhook yourself from your blackness, your femaleness, and your queerness?
I got them all
Please.
back, by the way. including the hip and cool. I hope.
I was
You tell me.
I was wondering. So you answered your question, my question. Thank you.
Well, let me say something that we don't know what is given to us. I mean, we don't know how much of our identity is constructed and given to us, handed down from, ideas and media and parents and, just the queer kids that we ran with and on the piers and that kind of thing, and the fact of our Latino culture, we've been given things, and so actually in order to find ourselves, we have to lose ourselves. So we have to lose and unhook from the fixation on the identity, from the story about our identity. I know that's very difficult for people whose this culture is nothing but stealing our stories and selling our stories back to ourselves and silencing our stories. We do not have to, those people that are marginalized, we do not have to acquiesce the beauty and the power of these practices because there's a shadow hanging over them. That is acquiescing our power. There was a point in time at which I thought I might have to leave this practice because, of my ways of being challenged by the expression of systemic injustices by people that meant well. They meant well. I was in the village. They meant well. They were as liberal as you could get, as progressive as you could get. They had all kind of queer flags and, had a female, every check. But doesn't mean a thing if it has that swing. Right? The impact of the subtle aggression that comes from unchecked privilege. The impact of people that are functioning out of a place that has to do with not being seen because we're so afraid to actually deconstruct whiteness and the impact whiteness has had on the psyche of America. And so people actually can't see it. And so at some point I thought, well, I have to leave. And I was like, what? That's bananas. That's mine. That's mine. This practice is mine. And as a result, when I eventually started a community, the earth-touching Buddha is our symbolic Buddha. We always have earth-touching Buddhas. And the earth-touching Buddha, right, represents the moment when Mara, when all kinds of seductions came along and said, after throwing everything Mara had, an army of stuff and things, pleasures and fire and pain and all kinds of things, basically said, who the do you think you are? Who do you think you are? To try to be liberated, to try to have freedom, to try to have access to your own heart. And Buddha said, the earth is my witness. I don't need to be witnessed by you. I don't need your permission. And that's complicated in a lineage-oriented place. I survived it. I survived it because I stood in my ground. And eventually, somehow, someone decided to acknowledge that that probably is consistent with the teachings. And they reluctantly gave up a title. I think.
Perhaps we'll leave it there with the questions. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I'm sure we've all enjoyed it tremendously, and I hope you'll come back soon.
Thank you. If I have an invitation, then I will come back.